Already
And
got some people joining. Yay.
yay! How exciting. I'm not gonna be able to see them join though, am I? Oh, yes, I am. No, I'm
Yes.
not. Yes,
Oh,
I am. Okay, this is so exciting. Got Caroline, Cassidy, Dana, Daniela, Emma. I'm trying to see. Oh, Goldie, Felicia, Jennifer, Jimmy, Kelly, Kimberly. Whoa, whoa, whoa. People are just jumping in here.
I know this is so fun.
Welcome, everybody. Sergio, Sarah, Robert, Richard, Rebecca, Patty, Morgan, Tracy, Veronica, Toyin. Is it Toyin? Maybe I hope I'm pronouncing that right. If you want to drop a phonetic spelling in the chat, please feel free. Did I mention Sergio already? We have two Pauls, or we have Paul on two, because Paul is really excited to be here. I love that for you.
Join on all of your computers, all of your devices.
Right. Get all the way in here. If you're on here, that means you're not going to be scrolling while we're talking, okay?
That's true. That is true. Awesome. Thank you everyone for joining. This is so fun. We're so excited to have you guys here. I'm curious if you guys want to drop in the chat, if you guys have ever came to one of our webinars, if you were at Jacent's webinar last time, this is our second time hosting one with her. So exciting and so happy to have her back. Um, Go ahead. Also, I'm curious, drop in the chat, where you're based. Curious where we all are. I am in Southern California.
I'm in Vegas. We got some first timers, Austin, NYC, Miami. Whoa, 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 it's moving. Georgia, South Florida, California, Seattle, Boston, Dallas, Columbus, San Diego, Denver. Is that Minnesota? MN? Y'all are giving me the abbreviations and really putting me to work here.
We're all over the place. I love it. We are everywhere. Awesome. Well, I'm gonna go ahead and just kick it off to you and let you take it, let you take it from here. I will turn off my camera, but I'll be in the chat if you guys have any questions or any issues. Feel free to ping me. And let's get this ball rolling.
Welcome, welcome, welcome to everyone from all over. So glad to get to spend this time with you. Want to make sure that we spend it wisely. So we are going to dive right in here. And I love how engaged you already are because I used to teach for like 5 years at UNLV, and y'all hopping in the chat is like A1. Okay, it means you're good students. So today's conversation is going to be completely centered around, how to be a debt-free therapist and follow and find some strategies for financial liberation. So if you're ready for this, if you're ready to get these tips on how to eliminate debt and live your best life, give me a yes in the comments. Yes, 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 yes. This is also a really good time, either screenshotting this first slide here, take a little video, post it on Facebook, post it in your private therapy groups. If you have an agency that you work with, or a group text thread of other therapists that might be able to join us right now. Even if they don't join us right now, they can get signed up and maybe watch the replay later on. Each one teach one. So accountability and support is really important when it comes to this financial journey. Share this out with someone somewhere right now, text message, stories on Instagram, wherever it is that you chat with people and connect, other therapists that need to be here. So please go ahead and do that now so that we can help you create accountability. And you want to be here for as long as you possibly can. Again, we said we're going to be intentional with our time, and it's for good reason, but you want to stick around until the end because I've got some fun little goodies that we're going to be able to dive into together that you don't want to miss. I'm going to be sharing a unique tool that I don't share really anywhere else, an opportunity, and it's going to be good. Plus, if you invite someone and they come, then they can let you know to come back on if you have to go cook dinner real quick or something like that, so that you don't miss it. But really, the goal is to make this time together worthwhile. Make sure you have a pen and paper nearby. I even have a pen and paper nearby just in case the feeling strikes me. And we're going to dive right in, like I mentioned. So I want you to focus. We have so many distractions all the time. And I get it, you're busy. You might hear my toddler screaming in the background. I don't know. We might get a toddler knock, which is worse than like a police knock because it's even more demanding. So I know there's a lot of distractions, but if you are able to quiet as many of those possible distractions right now, it will best serve you. Okay. So make sure that you're closing out any other apps, that you're here with us right now, really diving into this because I'm going to ask you to take action on certain things. And we're going to do some workshop style exercises that are going to help you leave this time together with very good, next steps and things like that. Okay. So I'm Jacent. Who's this therapist? Why is she talking about money? That's what I would be thinking. So, I am a licensed marriage and family therapist here in Las Vegas, Nevada, and a wealth and wellness coach. I ended up going into, like about $100,000 worth of student loans and credit card debt and was able to pay it off in 3 years before I turned 30. And that was from 2017 to 2020. I noticed the link between mental health and money, which maybe y'all have. If you've heard clients talk about it in your own journey, you may experience it where it can affect your well being. You know what I mean? Let me know in the chat if that resonates with you. If you either have clients that bring up money as a major stressor for them, or if in your own journey you feel the pressure that finances has on your ability to live the life that you dream of. And so, because of my journey and that link that I saw in the therapy room, I ended up kind of sharing my journey and it has, led to a whole bunch of stuff, which you can see here. So that's where I come in talking about this connection between mental health and money. I have done a previous webinar and we talked a lot about money shame and just mindset and everything like that I believe is up. Brittany, you can let me know in the chat. I think the replay is up on the YouTube channel if y'all want to dive in to watch that after this conversation. But, how it was, gosh, I remember being at graduation for my master's degree in marriage and family therapy, sitting at graduation, which is supposed to probably be one of the most pivotal, one of the most proud, one of the most exciting moments of a person's life because you spend so much time, energy, and effort getting this degree, right? Shedding tears, rearranging your schedule, turning your life inside out, especially with something like what we do, where we have to get hours, we have to go to an internship, we have to, be in grad school, but also maybe we have to work or have, graduate assistantships and see clients. Plus, we have homework. I don't know if that's what it was like for y'all, but that's what it was like for me at graduation. And the only thing I can remember from graduation was sitting there and thinking, I've got 6 months. I've got 6 months until my grace period is over. And I'm going to have to start paying these student loans back. And at the time, I didn't know how I was going to do that. Right. So if that resonates with you, if you can kind of like think of the pressure that even though you're celebrating becoming a therapist, which was maybe your dream for years and years and years, there's also kind of like this dark cloud that came along with it if you had to get student loans or if you have different, debt or whatever the case is, medical debt or credit cards or whatever. Yeah, it's not fun. And it can really taint a lot of our life experiences that are otherwise supposed to be really exciting. And so that's how it was in 2015 when I graduated in December. To fast forward, right? Was able to pay off the debt, like I mentioned. My husband was able to clear his debt, right before we got married, and my bonus daughter here on the right that you can see. We were wild. We even went down to Ramsey Studios because that's the plan that I was working at the time, and celebrated our debt-free scream together, which was really cool. And so the crazy thing is, my bonus daughter, who's now 11, she's homeschooled. She's taking college admissions and they were talking about funding, like how you're going to pay for college. And she said that there was a video she was watching and they told her, this is like yesterday, that they pretty much describe student loans as like inescapable. Like if you get student loans, like you're never gonna get rid of them. Now we're not only talking about student loans today, we're just talking about debt. But I know a lot of us end up having student loans as a part of our debt. So I want to have us take a little trip in our minds together. I want us to imagine, hey, Soror, is it Fatima or Fatima? How do you pronounce it? Love to see you. Um, what will your life be like when you become debt free? Like, I want you to explain it as much detail as possible in the chat. And if you're a therapist, this is kind of like the miracle question, right? But I really want you to describe in as much detail as possible in the chat. How will your life be different, Fatima? Love it. When you become debt free, when you have cleared your accounts, you know that your money is now no longer going to someone else, but it's going to you and your own wealth building journey. What's that going to be like for you? What will your relationships be like? What will you be able to do? How are you going to be able to like carry yourself through the world? Do you think there'd be more possible for you, right? And I love that y'all getting chatty in the comments. So I'm gonna go back because there was so much stuff, so much good stuff. Okay, so everything I'm saying so far seems like it's relating, it's hitting. Got it. Autumn says yes. Okay, it resonates 100% from wonderful, 1,000% from Crystal. Okay, it's relatable. So the feeling that it sounds like, and what I know from my own experience and from what people have told me, is how light they would feel. Because when we describe the debt, it's usually like it's a weight. That's what it feels like, is what I'm told. And what it felt like for me. And so you might feel light, you might feel less stress free, maybe. I don't think money solves all of our problems, but it definitely makes things a little bit less overwhelming, right? Um, Cassidy says free, less limiting, and feel like I can truly enjoy the money I'm earning, right? I would be able to make career choices based on what oh gosh, what will fulfill you, as opposed to feeling like you have to make choices around like what's gonna help you to meet your needs. Confidence, relax, travel, enjoy more time at home, sanctuary. Oh gosh, this is so good. So thank y'all for sharing. I would be able to live a life I want, which involves more investments in experiences and relocations. Ooh, I just have 108 in between me and a life I want to provide my partner and myself. Okay, you can get rid of that 6 figures. I believe it's possible for you. Like I mentioned, we know that money is a major stressor for everybody. So this is something that your clients are going to come into therapy with, that's keeping them up at night. But you as a therapist may also have this coming up as a stressor for you that potentially could affect how you run your practice as well, right? You said, can party more? Come on, Victoria, invite me over. I'll party too. Enjoy life without worrying about the weight of debt, only if the parties end by 6, because I am a sleepy lady. It's possible, right? And so I only bring up other instances because I can imagine that when you're facing this debt, you're like, it's possible for her, but like, is anyone else going to be able to do this? And I can think of the objections myself. And so it's cool to be able to share that I know people, I've coached people, I've worked with people that have been able to get these amazing results as well. Like Jamili, one of my students who's a therapist and a coach, in our time working together, she's still in our community. She's been able to get multiple, I think every year, she's been getting like an increase in her income. Her credit has gone up, her debt has gone down. And she actually just got back from a vacation with her husband for Turks and Caicos. And one of the things that she said was being able to go on vacation and not be worried about it financially. You know what I mean? So it's like you can go on your trip and not be concerned about how much the trip costs, how are you going to pay it back when you get back, so on and so forth. So it's not just something that I did, it's also possible for you as well. And so our quick agenda as we dive right in, because I want it to be very, strategic and action oriented. I'm a huge fan of mobilization over motivation. It's cool to like go to a webinar or a master class or whatever, and it's like, yeah, you feel energized, but like what happened? Like what sustainable like actual results did you get? I would much rather you be mobilized to action and get like ish done. And that's what we're going to do together today. So, diving right in is understanding your financial landscape, right? Which constitutes like where you're at right now. I say on the map, because when you're going to a party, you don't want to know the general location. You need to know the exact location if you're going to drive there. I don't know how old y'all are, but we used to use MapQuest. And before MapQuest, we used actual maps. But you used to print out the MapQuest sheet. If you didn't want to use your ink, you would write down the directions, right? And that would help you get exactly where you wanted to go. Okay, so I'm not the only person who did MapQuest. Okay, got it. So you want to know where you're at on your financial map. So that's going to give you a good idea of how to navigate creating a route to where you want to be. You want financial freedom. Yes. You want debt freedom. Yes. So you have to know where you're at. And the corresponding thing to try with that is to know your numbers. So I told y'all today, we're getting into some action. So if you aren't going to do the calculation while we're sitting here together, which your net worth, which is one of the things you want to know, is your assets minus your liabilities. You may not be able to do that off the top of your head right now, but I want you to put down a date and time or put a note in your calendar or whatever of when you are going to do this corresponding thing. Because for me, when it was 2017, January, my cousin gave me a book, December 20 of 16. I calculated my net worth for the first time. I realized it was negative. And I was like, ooh, we gonna have to do something about this because this isn't good. And so for me at that time, it was like negative $70,000 roughly. And it was a rude awakening for me because all of our expenses are in different places. Medical debt's over here, car notes over there, student loans are right here. Everything is separate. So we don't get this aerial view, which is our net worth of what's going on, that location on the map. And it's kind of scary because we're like, oh, what is it gonna like? What are my numbers gonna say? But we have to have that in order to get where we want to go. So that's one of the things that I really want you to focus on is understanding your numbers and then being able to go from there. So, how much do you owe and to who? I talk to people all the time and they don't know how much they owe or to who it is because they've been avoiding their finances. Rightfully so, because it can be a stressful thing. But if you want it to change, it's not going to change on accident. You're going to have to be empowered to start getting into the nitty gritty, right? So the slides I will make sure that y'all get access to. And I know Brittany will make sure y'all get access as well. And I'll be dropping that link at the end. So that's why you want to stick around, right? Someone else used Thomas guide. So after finding out where you're at on the map, and if I'm going too fast, y'all slow me down. My dad used to talk like boop, 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 but I want y'all to get this stuff in. So if I'm going too fast, put a slower in the comments and I can take my time. Put your questions in the comments so that I can answer them. And Brittany is going to help me stay accountable to not miss anything. Now, the other thing you want to do next when it comes to understanding your financial landscape is knowing what your money is doing. All the time I hear people ask about, thank you. Is it Elisa? Thank you. Wanting to be better at budgeting. Let me know if put budgeting in the comments if you think budgeting is your challenge. You're like, the money's coming, but I don't know where it's going. Or you just budgeting is a challenge for you, right? We want to know how to be better at managing our money. But one of the biggest mistakes I see people making is not auditing before they budget. So not taking inventory before trying to tell your money where you want it to go, taking a look to see where it already went. Okay. And if we don't like the budgeting word, Shamika, I'm with you. We can switch it out. Let's do a little reframe. We can call it conscious spending plan, like the remit seti. We can call it a money plan. We just want you to know what's going on with your money. And let's shift real quick our thoughts around budgeting in the first place. You said budget, please, and thank you. It's one of the little surprises I got for you, okay? Allocation is a great word, Andrew. I love that. When I looked up budgeting, the word budgeting actually kind of just means guesstimate. Does anyone remember guesstimation from elementary school? You are guesstimating. So your budget is not supposed to be perfect. Your budget, the way that you lay it out, does not mean that's exactly going to happen. Because one of the biggest frustrations I hear is that things come up unexpectedly. Does anyone have that happen? Does anyone feel like things just pop up out of nowhere? All of a sudden, you got these expenses that came out of who knows where to bite you in the butt, right? Life keeps lifing all the time. Yes, every month. Right. So if that's the case, right, our budget is just a guesstimate. It's a loose plan, tentative, flexible. We need to think about that as opposed to feeling like a budget is rigid and whatever I put down is what has to happen. Okay. And the thing about it is, you check to see what your money's been doing. So maybe the last 30, 60, 90 days as business owners, if you've got bookkeeping, you're getting support maybe from Herd or something like that, then you can also, didn't I tell y'all about the toddler? Yeah, I don't know if you can hear him, but he is not happy, okay? That you know where the money went, so then you're better able to predict where it can go moving forward. So if you look and you say, for example, that you typically spend $500 on food, but then since you didn't audit, you're trying to say, okay, well, I only want to spend $100 or $300 on food. Is it realistic to cut your spending in that area down that much if your trends are showing you something different? Because then we start creating these restrictive ways of dealing with money, and then we fail, quote unquote, because we don't actually do what we said we were going to do. And it's discouraging. And then we stay on this cycle, right? That keeps us feeling stuck. And so when you do an audit, you can be really honest, like, okay, this is what's been happening. It is what it is. How can you make subtle shifts that can help you manage moving forward and make those adjustments, maybe more long term than anything? Okay. You said it's nice to find out I've kind of been budgeting. I love that. So you do an audit. Again, even if you don't do this right now, you're not gonna be able to go through your bank statements or whatever the case in this conversation. When are you going to execute this step? So maybe you say for the next 3 months, once a week, I'm going to do these moves just as I was talking about, right? Calculate your net worth, figure out where all your money, like who you owe and how much amounts you owe, things like that. Um, do the money audit. And then the next thing is, how do you feel about money? So money is an inanimate object. Okay, it's green pieces of paper with dead people's faces on it. Okay, it's not real. But when we think about money, it invokes emotion. How do you feel about money right now? Drop it in the chat. Stressed, overwhelmed, confused, annoyed, frustrated, unsure. Say, gimme, gimme, gimme. I love that. Scared. I appreciate money. Daunting, right? Sad, stressed, annoyed. I hear you. I hear you. So that means that there's a component here, a mental emotional component here that we have to address. And I think about three things. I think about our background, I think about our beliefs, and I think about our boundaries. Because typically our background, if you did not grow up, I don't know, with Daddy Warbucks or something like that, right? My family was just watching Annie the other day. So that's fresh on my mind. If you didn't grow up with a lot of money, or if you didn't grow up with the best way to manage or deal with or handle the lessons like the financial literacy, then that creates certain beliefs with money and what's possible or impossible for you with money. Those beliefs then inform the boundaries that you do or don't have to be successful, quote unquote, however you define it, when it comes to building wealth. So you want to take time not only to assess what's going on with the numbers, but also to be able to assess your mindset around money. And that's where I really kind of like hone in on and kind of find my place because of the psychology background piece. So taking that time to figure out, okay, well, what did I grow up learning about money? You could drop it in the comments if you want to. What did you hear about money? There's covert and overt things that happened to affect how you see money and interact with it, right? What beliefs did that create for you? And then boundaries. I was just talking to my husband over lunch, and I was like, you know what? I think I'm not used to making a lot of money. Like, it's something that growing up, I don't know how much my dad made or whatever, and I've only ever had jobs where I quote didn't make a lot, or I didn't make, what would be considered a lot of money. So it's like when you're shifting into another season where you maybe are more abundant and clients are rolling in and it's like, whoa, like people are paying me to do this thing. Like, what am I supposed to do with this money, right? Um, there are places where you're gonna have to evolve, where you're gonna have to grow. Okay. And a couple of quick book recommendations for that, if you're struggling with shifting out of an old identity and old mindset into a new one, would be The Big Leap by Gay Hendricks. Um, there would also be the one that I have my students read is The Lies We Tell Ourselves by Dr. Courtney Warren. And the one that I read recently is Be Your Future Self Now. Okay. So those are some quick things on this first point. Money doesn't grow on trees, right? Like, where does it grow then? Um, Pinching pennies, right? To be rigid with money, and then a parent spending wildly. So just like sometimes we get mixed messages, right? Religious beliefs, if you're wealthy, you're sinful. If you don't tithe, you'll always struggle. And it comes from so many different places. We just have to know so that we can decide whether we want to continue to operate with that belief or not, right? Because it has an impact, as you know, on our mental health and on our practice. If you're stuck in this cycle of debt and you feel like it's inescapable, you're going to work, people are paying you, there's money being exchanged, but you feel like you're never getting to see it or enjoy it or use it as a resource to have an impact in the world. How sustainable is that for you long term? I feel like we have to. figure out this money thing in order to make our field and our lives more sustainable. Because if a therapist drops out of is no longer doing therapy because it's not sustainable for them, how many clients are going unseen by that person? Because we also know a lot of the time, like, there's a therapist for a type of person. So if that therapist isn't there, this type of person might be, like, missing out. And that comes from a very collectivistic kind of universal way of saying things. And I just don't want y'all to be burnt out. Okay. Are you able to meet your needs? So, like, things like inflation. Obviously, you're experiencing inflation just like everyone else is. But if you haven't revisited your rates in a year, 3 years, 5 years, to ensure that it helps you to meet your needs, which is okay for you to do. Like, you have permission to make sure your profession meets your needs, then that's not going to keep your business open for very long. It's not going to keep your business profitable or where you want it to be to grow, to help people, which is what we want at the end of the day. How does the debt impact your personal life and your relationships? Is it something that gets in the way of you feeling like you can really connect? Is it something that holds you back from being able to provide the experiences for your family that you want? You want to go to traveling, you want to go to Disney or, the Grand Canyon or whatever the case is, but it's hard for you to be able to make that happen because you feel like this debt is hanging over your head, or you feel bad about spending the money over here when you're like, oh, it should go over here. I've had students say that as well, right? And so just understanding that for yourself will help you to see how important it is for you to address this. The lies we tell ourselves. Ooh, it's one of my favorite books. Yes. Um, Most of us are afraid to have that rate increase conversation. I know, y'all. That's a different topic for a different day. You're going to have to ask her to bring me back to talk to you about pricing and getting paid. Okay. But building a foundation for financial freedom is going to require a few different things, and y'all are the best for putting the book recommendations in the chat. I'm a huge reader, so I'm going to probably spit out a whole bunch of stuff. Thank y'all for putting those in the comments. Money was unstable with a hustle mindset, with there never being enough. It's tough, y'all. It is tough. What are your goals? And when I ask this question, I don't just mean financially, because the finances if we think of it like a vehicle, because we often create goals that don't encompass everything, our entire vision, and then we don't meet our vision and we're unfulfilled. So I really want you to think expansively, like, in the greatest vision of your life, what does that look like? Are you able to write checks to certain organizations to support them? Are you, because now we're talking about like legacy and things like that. I'll bring it back up again later. But having the clarity of your vision in your mind is going to help you understand how to navigate how to create that route to your goals. So, for example, there's an organization I used to volunteer for like 15 hours a week. I clearly had a lot of time on my hands at an organization called Broadway in the Hood. This was before I got married and my bonus daughter, my son. And now my 11-year-old bonus daughter is in Broadway in the Hood, singing, acting, dancing. I grew up in performing arts. So one of my goals is to be able to write checks to fund Broadway in the Hood, helping others open doors because they provide free, right? Classes, shows to the community and for the students and the kids to participate in it, but they need funders. They need people to donate so that they can do this for free for underrepresented at-risk youth. I can be one of those people. What organizations or causes do you want to be able to support? So then when I'm thinking about my financial goals, I'm like, "Oh, okay, I have to get my stuff out of the way so I can then have the surplus to be able to contribute on the other side." So you got to get clear on what your goals are. You can drop them in the comments. This is our place to have a conversation. So I'm going to always say that. Feel free to use it as that space. And lifestyle. I think maybe as therapists, maybe it was before we became therapists. You could correct me if I'm wrong. Okay. I feel like we're often kind of, I don't know if I want to say groomed, but programmed, brainwashed, I don't know, to think humbly or to be humble, if that makes sense. So I'll hear people say, like, I don't want too much, or, I just want to be comfortable. Comfortable to me is a first class flight. I want to be flying first class. I'm just going to be honest. I'm a little bougie. I don't spend a lot on clothes, but I'm gonna spend on travel. You have to know what your values are when it comes to money and what's gonna help you to actually feel like you're living your best life. I know how to cook, especially since my husband had a stroke in January. I've been cooking so much more and I'm good at it, okay? But I know in the future, my future self has someone else that cooks more often. So we do have a chef that does some meal prepping for us. And even though we can't have her do it all the time, it's like, how can we have a little bit of that so that we can be able to serve and do things like this, right? My husband, I was gonna go cook lunch and I came out of preparing for this, and my husband had ordered us lunch. Like I said, he's recovering from his stroke. So he, has some trouble moving around, and cooking isn't the fastest and easiest thing as it used to be for him. But he ordered lunch and boom, that gave me 30 minutes to focus on getting ready because I did not look like this before this meeting, okay? Um, and my office didn't look like this either. I had to rearrange it and everything. It gave me the time to be able to do what I could do to be present here with you and look nice and crispy. You know what I'm saying? So, what do you want your lifestyle to look like? I'm harping on this because your vision gives you velocity. Like your vision should excite you. It should help you to show up when it's challenging. It should keep you motivated, which is what people talk a lot about struggling with, right? So your vision is a very, very, very important. Again, if you're not going to do this now, write it down in your notebook when you are going to execute this thing. I don't know if you need to connect with an accountability partner in the chat to say, hey, let's do this together. Do you need to do this as an office wherever you work at? Do you need to do this with your friend? You could still have time to invite someone else to join us on this class. We're gonna be here for like 20 more minutes or so, okay? And there's still a lot of gems to share. So, what does your money management look like right now? Are you avoiding money? Are you not looking at, what's going on with it? Are you holding really tight to it and like checking on it maybe too often, or you're stressed about every little change that happens? Um, because that gives you insight on how to create boundaries of, yes, regular time to check in with your money, but not so much that it makes you anxious and stressed and overwhelmed, right? So things that we didn't learn in school about money and business, uh everything pretty much, at least in my school. Knowing what our money looks like profit and loss stuff. Ask if you have someone you're working with, a bookkeeper, things like that. Have them teach you, ask them questions so that they can share with you. You don't need to know everything. That's not your job. But for you to start making more sense of this so that over time it becomes less foreign and more helpful for you. He said, I hold tight out of fear. Right. So now there's a lot of fear around money. Last thing, what are your options to increase your income, right? When you're talking about building a foundation for financial freedom, you got options. All right. And you have to figure out what makes the most sense for you. I will say, though, when I was at a mastermind, Darman said, nail it before you scale it. All right. So, for our multi talented, multi passionate folks in the room, we got a lot of stuff that we like to do. We have a lot of talent within us. We are creators naturally. We don't want to stretch ourselves too thin too fast. How can you really like nail down the one thing as much as you possibly can before you start branching off and then do whatever the next thing is really well? So, because we hear about people saying, oh, rich people have 7 streams of income, but they didn't typically start with all 7. Okay. They usually started with one, they blew that thing up, and then that made it possible for them to start dabbling and dipping in these other things. So, you do have options though, right? Revisit your rates if it's time to. You know who you are, and I'm just saying this with some compassion. I'm saying it with some love. You know who you are. You need to revisit your rates. That might, be able to have some adjusting done to them. You can get more specialized in whatever it is that you're doing that then helps you, you know, increase your rate for that specialty, right? If you think about a general physician, they're not going to make as much as like a neurosurgeon, right? So, how can you make sure all these certifications you done went and got, okay, EMDR and ACT and hypnotherapy and whatever other whatever, make sure that that's going to be reflected in your rate as well because it's contributing to you being a specialist, right? What about one to many, right? So you only have so many days in a week, in a month, in a year. You can only see so many people. Is there any room for you to be able to do a one to many model, whether that's a group, whether that's retreats, whether that's whoever, however, what does your heart desire when it comes to that? There are things like digital products, right? So courses, ebooks, different things like that that could be helpful for someone that you can't necessarily see in therapy, but that they can use to help them in some way, shape, and form. I always used to think like we suggest in therapy books to people, workbooks and things like that. Why do we not, contribute to the body of knowledge our own understanding of things and then how to make them happen? Um there's so many different ways. There's so many different ways. Again, if you want to talk about how to like make more money or something like that, that would have to be a different time for a different day. It's hard to find the time, right? So that's why you would want to, in this situation, when you're thinking about how to increase your income, audit your time. What are you doing? Literally, it would be like in a notebook. I actually think I might have a page nearby. Let me see if I can find it. All this writing. Maybe I can't, guys, because I do a lot of writing. But you would want to write down, I call it an I've done list. So instead of a to-do list, just like a budget, you create an I've done list and just dictate what you've done for a day or a week. So you can see where all your time is going. And then it helps you budget your time moving forward. Does that make sense? I hope that makes sense. Y'all, I journal too much. I can't find it. So it is what it is. But did I do it recently? No, guys. All right, I'm gonna stop. I like finding actual stuff that I can show you, but there's that. No, 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 no. I have a brain dump list. Anyway, I'm not gonna find it. It's too much. Um, that's something that would be helpful if time is a constraint. Time blocking can be helpful. There's a book called The 12-Week Year. Highly suggest. It's another book I have my students read. And it tells you how to like map out your time. This is where also delegating can be helpful. Delegating. Oh, there's another book called Procrastinate on Purpose. Y'all, hopefully you're catching them. If you need me to restate the book, let me know. One of my students, Ashley, was kind of in a toxic work environment at an agency, a situation. And ooh, profit first is so good. Yes, that's for the structure of like what you're doing financially. 100% suggest profit first. And when we were working together, she was trying to get out of the situation. Um, she did end up, terminating that relationship, starting her own situation, and within 6 months, being able to, hit her first five-figure month, right? And so she didn't go get another degree. You know what I'm saying? Like it wasn't magic that changed. She was still pretty much the same person with pretty much the same skills. She was just focused, right? And so when you focus yourself, the last two books, one of them was Procrastinate on Purpose by Rory Vaden. Very good book. Okay. And the other one was The 12-Week Year. I don't remember who wrote that, even though I've read it multiple times. Okay. So increasing your income is possible. For some of us, we can't contract no more. We can't cut anything else out at this point. So we need to figure out how to make more in order to hit our goals. And it is possible, I'm telling you. So when we're talking about the debt payoff itself, right? This is where the fun begins, okay? We're gonna need to do some self-assessment and self-awareness. This is gonna help us to pick the best possible strategy. For me, I don't feel like there can be a one size fits all model. Just like with therapy, there's no one size fits all model. You have to know, because how does change occur? It occurs with progress feeling like it's been made. If you feel like you're progressing, you're going to want to keep doing it. What's going to make you feel like you're progressing? For me, it was the debt snowball, because when you get the smallest one out of the way, then it's gone, right? The debt snowball being listing all your debts, smallest to largest, knocking out the smallest one, and then going on to the next, paying minimums on everything, knock out the smallest, move, so on and so forth. But it doesn't make mathematical sense for those who are more analytical or maybe more logical. They're like, but that's not the one with the highest interest. That's where something like the avalanche method would come in, right? Where you would then list out all of your debts. This is why I said you need to know your numbers, your interest rates, who you owe, and how much. Because then you could entertain, well, okay, mathematically, if I pay down, the debt in this order, I'll save more money, right? You won't have to pay as much on the debt as if you do the debt snowball. You're gonna make it's gonna your interest is gonna continue to accrue because the interest rates are not what you're taking into consideration, right? So you have to know yourself enough to know what's gonna feel like you're making progress faster, because psychologically that's gonna keep you on the plan. Does that make sense? Who can you do this strategizing with, if anyone? It might just be you, but do you have a partner? Are you married? Do you have a best friend, like a business buddy? Do you need to talk with, like, if you're working with someone from Herd, is that something that can be pulled into the conversation? Is making sure that they know that this is one of your goals or priorities financially, and then maybe you can talk to them about, like, what do my numbers say about what's possible for me or whatever, like, who can you talk to about this? Because I'll talk about the power of accountability in a moment here. There are things like settlement and consolidation. I can only speak to what I know confidently, but I can share generally, you know what I mean? Obviously, settlement is like where you negotiate to pay off a certain amount. So maybe let's say you save up a lump sum of money, you call whoever that creditor is, or whoever you owe, and you negotiate to see if you can settle that debt. Consolidating would be rolling it all into something, rolling it into another place, right? So you get a loan from over here and you pay off all of these little ones and you have this one. You get to choose whatever plan is going to work best for you. My argument against consolidation is that it doesn't help behaviorally. So I've talked to people, and I've even had students who they've consolidated debt before, dealt with it, but then nothing ever changed mentally or behaviorally, and then they found themselves back in debt in a way that they didn't like. So it's like, if nothing changed up here, your behavior is going to keep staying the same. Okay? So there's that. Um Maintaining your financial wellness, which I can tell you and you can learn the what, like what to do, but if you don't have a plan built with implementation in mind, which is nice from the 12-week year that helps you break it down, how are you going to maintain your wellness financially, right? By having a plan that can cover what could possibly come up, like life. Okay? Something happens with your family member. You have something happen to you. So many different things. Life will life. So how can we troubleshoot for that, right? Let me see. That's what I found out too. Student debt is on there too. There's a very real reason to consolidate student debt right now. Okay, I'm not saying any. If you know, do what makes sense to you. Okay, do what make ask the questions, make the phone calls, like get involved in the journey, so that you can take advantage of what the opportunities are. Because if not, a year's gonna pass, 3 years are gonna pass, 5, 10 years are gonna pass anyway. So how can you make sure that you're gonna get to where you want to go on the other side of that time than just finding yourself wherever you allowed yourself to float to, um, unintentionally? So what could get in your way of making this happen? I need you to catastrophize a little bit. Don't get stuck there, but think to yourself, you could end up a year from now, 3 years from now, 5 years from now, still in debt. How would that impact your life? How would you feel? Where would you be? What would you have missed out on if you hadn't done your best, let me say, to focus in this area? Because catastrophizing will help you understand the feeling and the location of the place you don't want to go. You know what I mean? There's parts of town where you're told don't go to that part of town. There's parts of, whatever places in the world that it's like maybe we shouldn't go there right now because it's dangerous or this or that. This is what's happening right now. Maybe we should try another time, so on and so forth. You don't want to go to the future where debt is still there in 20 years. Okay. How can you ensure your success? Okay. That comes down to really getting accountability because you can check it for yourself, the fact checking. Having accountability will almost ensure your success. If someone knows what your goals are, I believe it is, I think it brings you up to over like 65% higher rate of success. If you have a regular meeting with someone about your goals, and this isn't just money goals, this is in general, you're at an over 90% higher rate of success to hit your goal. So if you want to ensure your success, why would you not get accountability, right? Now we're talking about self-sabotage. Now we're talking about other things, getting in your own way. What will your legacy be? Because your vision, again, is what's going to keep you motivated. If your vision doesn't almost move you to tears, if I talk about it right now, when I started my journey, I didn't have kids at the time. I wasn't married at the time. I had gotten divorced. For me, it was my family is from Uganda. I was born there and raised in the States. Thinking about the choices and the sacrifices that family members made for me to have the life and opportunities that I had, who am I not to reach my greatest potential? And it's not about being successful, it's like doing what I can in my lifetime to contribute to the progression of my family and the legacy that we're creating collectively. And so I say that, right? Because you have a legacy that you want to be really clear and honest about. One of my students, she is a yoga instructor and she wants to be able to like buy land in Costa Rica to like save the rainforest. And I'm like, great. This is why you want to go out and make a whole bunch of money because then you can use that money to do things that really matter to you, you know? Me and my cousin have a nonprofit in Uganda. We use money to make change there. You know what I mean? And so really getting clear, really getting honest and allowing that to inspire you because you're not going to feel like it every day. Lord knows I don't. I'm going to break down real quick what I did, the timeline of how I paid off my debt. And then let's see, we've got a couple of minutes. I want to take questions and share with you what the little fun things that I was going to share. Okay, is that okay? Give me a yes. So when I was paying down my debt, um, I really had to start with shifting my mindset first, right? When you start to shift your mindset, you start to see more possibility. So when I literally made like 16,000, no, $17,800 in 2016. And that was with a master's degree. That was after I don't know what I was doing, to be honest with y'all guys. I was not focused or clear. But I started with managing my money better. So I started looking at what my money was doing. I started applying for jobs. For me in my journey, everyone's journey is different. I sold a whole bunch of stuff that was in my house on OfferUp and whatever the case was to save an emergency fund so that while I was paying down my debt, if something happened, I had a little bit of savings, which was like $1,000. Okay. Got another job, so I was working a lot, I will be honest, and at the time, I was single, didn't have kids, moved in with my best friend because that's what I was willing to do at the time. Everyone's version is gonna look different. Started making more money, put heavy payments on my debt. I didn't sacrifice certain things, so I left that job at some point because I had a nonprofit trip to Uganda, and they weren't gonna give me the time off. Okay, so I said, "Bye," because my time is mine. But then when I came back, there's some faith that comes into this or some spiritual aspects. We're not going to go into it, but I had the spiritual trust that I was going to be able to figure it out, came back, was able to find another job that helped me make enough money to make all this continue to happen. So there's months where I didn't pay anything on my debt and then I made more money. It was great, right? So if you don't address this link between mental health and money, right, then you're never going to be able to understand what you need to shift mentally to be able to accept the abundance that could come your way. If you can't accept people paying you more because you got something you need to work through, that's a problem. That's going to keep you where you're at. If you can't accept, you know what I mean, being able to help more people, being able to become a different version of yourself, being able to put big chunks of money on the debt, um, those are things that are going to keep you where you're at, right? So working through things mentally, emotionally, if I'm calling you out, it's because I care about you and I want you to live your best life. I want all of the best things for you. Like my husband had a stroke and hallelujah, we don't have to worry about the over $100,000 of debt that we used to have. It's not something that is as stressful as it would have been if we had that debt there. And life is it's going to bring some things your way regardless. So it's like, how can you best prepare yourself now so that later on you don't have as much to deal with? Does that make sense? I hope it makes sense. I hope this is helpful, guys. All right. So there are a whole bunch of other things that you could do. Getting support, like I said, will increase your success to over 95%. Knowing how to start addressing your money stuff, your mindset stuff is going to be key. Building your money team, whether it's bookkeeping, taxes, payroll, getting a lawyer, right? So Herd can help with some of those things. Getting legal support can help with some of those things so that you're not carrying all that weight by yourself. And plenty of different exercises. Now, I want to answer your questions. All right. I'm going to hop for time's sake. What do you need to know to feel like you can leave here and start making progress on this? What questions do you have? I'm going to leave all that stuff, that stuff. Start dropping your questions in the comments. All right. Start dropping your reflections, your key takeaways, and your action items. I just gave you a lot of homework and I'm going to put it right here. Questions, key takeaways, because I know as a teacher, I want to make sure I'm setting you up for success. Takeaways. And I'm great at answering questions, key takeaways, action items. For those who, right, feel like it would be helpful to dive deeper and have a conversation, a one-on-one conversation. For those who are here live, if y'all are going, you're in for a treat. Because I don't do this often. I'm dropping a number in the chat. So only people that are here live are going to get this number to text the word strategy session so that we can find a time where I can sit with you and talk through your situation and give you as much as I possibly can. Referrals, recommendations, support, moral support. You got the number in the chat. That's only for y'all who have been here up until this point because I trust and appreciate that you are serious about making this happen, right? Now, let's go into questions. The link, did I give you the link? I'm going to drop the link here, but I know Brittany's also going to make sure you get the link for resources. Wow, what's that? Okay, that's really cool. That made me feel real special. I don't know if that was supposed to happen, but I liked it. Some confetti on the screen. Okay, the link is going to be there. Oh, let me scroll back to give you the number again. Oh, y'all are quick. Okay, let me type it in. I'll just keep typing it in every so often. And y'all who are watching the recording, next time, maybe you make sure y'all go ahead and block this time out so you can be here. Okay? All right. So, what questions, Brittany, did you, because I saw there lots of scrolling here. Were there questions that I missed that I can answer?
No, we are looking good. It looked like the first time you sent the number, it was just to host and panelists. That's why
Oh,
you can see it. No, classic. Always. Same.
I
So
don't
I
know
thought
how to
that
use
was good
Zoom,
though.
okay? Clearly, as many times as I've
Um,
been on here.
every single time I'm like, it's new. But yeah, we will make sure that everyone has the recording, everyone has any other resources or books or anything that you mentioned, just to make sure that we're all set up here. But this is so great.
let's see, is it better to just throw in an extra $20, $50 to loan payment as you have it, or save and do it all at once? Okay. So again, to me, this is, and it's not semantics because it's numbers, right? What is going to lead to you being consistent? Will you consistently throw an extra 20 or $50 at it? Or will you be more consistent to save and then just save and dump, save and dump, save and dump? Because it's less about the strategy and more about you. That's where this piece of self-awareness is key, because someone can tell you what you should do, but it doesn't mean that it's going to be the best fit for your way of seeing and doing things, if that makes sense. So that's where that's why I say it's really helpful to chat or talk things out to understand, okay, knowing myself, if I save money and I see money there, I'm gonna spend it. Or knowing myself, I'd much rather save it so that it's gonna feel really good to drop, $1,000 on the credit card or whatever. Like, what's going to feel really good for you, if that makes sense. Ooh, there's a Q&A box. I like that. Okay. I've been concerned to start anything new beforehand. Is this rational? I would say in your specific situation, right? This is an anonymous question, but a very valid one that I want to speak into. If you know you're going to separate or get divorced or no longer be in the same um like marital or partnership of whatever kind, I would say you want to understand legally what the implications of that are in your specific situation. Did you guys have a prenup or not? Did you have certain other agreements legally or otherwise? Um, can you just be, are you plotting on the down low? You know what I mean? Like, so that when you're ready, you can execute the things. I don't know your specific situation, and this is not to call you out, but I do have to speak into, is that something that allows you not to move on starting something else because it can like be a distraction for you. So I also don't want you to not execute because you're allowing this thing to become a distraction or hold you back from starting, but there could really be some legal implications. So you would want to maybe even speak to a legal professional to understand what that might look like. Your state laws, things like that, like what would someone be entitled to, are all questions you would want to have answered as you're thinking about what your game plan would be. And if nothing else, this just means you have time to plot. I watch Handmaid's Tale. I don't want to ruin it for anyone, but like you just want to spend this time plotting. Okay, that's what I'm gonna say. You want to be plotting on what you would be doing, which would mean that you would have like a really clear way of executing when the time comes. Hopefully that's helpful.
And it looks like the link is not.
Oh, it doesn't. Okay, well, I'm gonna send it to Brittany. She's gonna send it out to y'all.
Yes.
Or if you message me, then I'll make sure that you get it too. We're gonna make sure you get the stuff, y'all.
Yes, we
Especially y'all. You are going to get this stuff. Do we need to figure out how to direct payments to interest versus principal if we're paying a monthly amount? Does that automatically go toward? You're gonna want to look in the system that you're using. Whatever the system is that you're using should break it down for you if it's an option, or you want to call and speak to someone to have them explain it to you so that you're able to make the payment go to the principal, which will help bring um, that principal amount down, which means that you won't be paying as much interest on all of it, right? Because some of it is going just to interest, or sometimes it's all of it is going to interest. So you want to understand within the system that you use to make payments, and or speak to someone, call to help them or to have them explain to you so that you're able to understand what to do. Bye. Have a good client, Joshua. Sorry about the link, y'all. I don't know what happened. I don't know how, but we're gonna get you the things. I'm trying to scroll back to see if there's other questions. Any other questions? Do you mind sharing some of your biggest challenges in shifting your mindset? Me. Hey, it's me. I'm the problem. It's me. Like that's what it is. Identity shifting is a huge thing. So shifting identities, I think, gets a bad rap, right? Like people are like, oh, you changed. Like changing is a bad thing. We have to be able to let go of who we were, what we knew, what things we practice in order to become a new version of ourselves, which the book Be Your Future Self Now will be helpful with. I actually don't have to shift my mindset if I'm being a completely different person, if that makes sense. Like Future me got on here, old me gets really nervous about speaking. And I still kind of, but future me gets really excited about speaking. So it's like, I don't have to shift my mindset. I am just a different person. And so when you, oh gosh, what is the book called? There's a book by Todd Herman about creating the alter ego effect. That's what it's called. Creating an alter ego. So who is your, like Sasha Fierce? What's her name? Beyonce used to have Sasha Fierce. Create an alter ego for your money, or as a business owner, my business alter ego person, my business alter ego person has this bun that she wears. She wears specific earrings. She put pants on today, even though she works from home. Okay. Y'all understand if you work virtually. So, how can you create a persona from that new person or that new version or that person that doesn't have that thing as an issue? Now you don't even have to shift your mindset because that person is not you, if that makes sense. It sounds a little weird. Do you calculate the equity in your home versus the mortgage, or just the mortgage for your net worth, or are you saying in general? I have a hard time figuring out how much money to leave in the bank account versus extra to my loan payment. I think I don't understand. I have a hard time figuring out how much money to leave in my bank account versus adding extra to my loan payment. So when I calculated, I'm just going to let me know if I'm speaking to your question. When I calculated how I was going to pay down my debt, I thought, okay, how much debt am I in? It was about $70,000 at the time. I said, when do I want to be debt free? Just was crazy. I was like, maybe it would be cool to be debt free by the time I'm 30, and then I could spend the rest of my life building wealth, right? So pick a tentative deadline, pick something, but be flexible. Do not be too attached. Then you can divide it by that time. So let's say I'm in 100K of debt. 100K, let's say I want to be debt free, divided by 5 years is about $20,000 a year. So that's going to help you when you start playing around with the numbers. It's going to help you be able to see what's possible or what's not possible for yourself. And then you make adjustments, if that makes sense. Thank you. I'm so glad it was good for you. Do, 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 do. No, you're not going to get an auto text from me. You're going to get a actual text from me, a human, not AI. Um, anything? Any other questions you see, Brittany? Net worth. For the net worth, I would count the equity. Shoot, you got the equity, throw it in there. You're welcome. Thanks, y'all, for being here if you had to hop off. Gotcha. Amber, I meant like how much is good to, so you want to revisit the Profit First book. That's going to be really helpful for you to understand how to split your money up from your business to yourself. And then you have to come up with guidelines on what feels good to have as a what I call like a buffer in your bank account that you don't dip below, if that makes sense. So Profit First for your business, and then coming up with boundaries, right? For in my personal bank accounts, I want to make sure I always have $1,000 almost at all times, if that makes sense, so that you can keep that there. Anything extra you're cool with throwing on your debt or whatever the case is. I think that's all the questions. I don't know. Brittany, anything else you could think of?
No, I think you covered it all so well. This is so good.
I hope so. You guys can be debt free. You can get your money in order. You can live your best life. It's all possible for you. I'm so grateful that you're here. For y'all, the 91 people still here, you are the real ones. Connect with me. I'm most active on Instagram. I try to educate the most on YouTube, and I do have a podcast. I'm so grateful to just be able to share the information and keep other mental health professionals just motivated and knowing like you don't have to be stuck. It's possible for you to make progress, to serve people and help, but also make money and live your life. It doesn't have to be either or. And if you have any questions that come up after this, y'all, please feel free to let me know, DM me, or like I said, send me a message, and I will try to direct you in the direction that makes the most sense. I don't have all of the answers, but I do have a lot of resources. Okay. I do have a lot of resources.
Absolutely. And we will make sure that we email all of the things to you so you can have all of the resources. And we would love to have you back. I'm like, this was so good.
I hope so. All
Cool. Well,
right.
thank you. Yeah. Thank you so much.
Of course.
We'll talk soon. Bye.